cried.
So I've cried, and I'm like, they tell us never to cry, and it's
Honestly,
like ingrained in us.
Let me tell you, and I was gonna tell you this earlier. I have never seen my husband cry.
No one has ever seen
This
cry.
was the first time I saw him cry.
Wow.
I saw you once shed tears when my dad passed. When you guys came for my dad's burial, and I think you saw me crying and you shed tears. That's the last time I ever saw you cry.
So even when you hug, he's never like teared up like,
no.
Oh, you're not doing well.
No.
I have no recollection of crying in my adult life.
Trust me, I think that's one of the hardest things.
Join this group.
No, mama.
But it's for women,
Let me tell you, for me, I'm actually a different, slightly. Usually my tears are actually like very near.
Oh really?
Oh yeah, like even
so
today.
Do you cry?
No,
like
I fight them.
Like Steve Harvey.
I fight them.
Hello everybody, welcome to the beloved channel. My name is Loise Kiiri.
And I'm James Kiiri.
And today we are super excited because we have our longtime friend here with us on this channel. And we are so excited that he agreed to come and do a video with us. And before he introduces himself, I would love to say that he does great things in Kenya as well as here in the US, and he will elaborate more on that and tell us about his ministry. And also, before we mention the topic of today, let him just go ahead and introduce himself.
Alrighty, thank you so much. Thank you, the Kiiris. Thank you for inviting me. It's been an honor watching you guys and now being here. I'm excited to have the conversations with you guys. My name is Mbiro, from Kenya, definitely. I recently moved to Dallas, Texas. I was here in Georgia. I lived in Georgia for maybe about 10 years, and I just moved to Texas. It's a long story, but that's part of the story that we're here.
Yes.
I'm a father of two little girls, Shiloh and Sage. Shiloh just turned 7 the other month, and then Sage is going to be turning 5. And I'm also a husband of Valentine, Mbiro, and so I'm excited about that. And I'm excited to see what we can come up with and just the conversation that we can have. But again, thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome.
Welcome to the channel.
Yeah.
We've been trying to get him here, but he's a very busy man. We've been trying for a long time.
We're always calling him, Jay, come, we do a video together.
You need to talk to my people so that my people can talk to your people.
Make it happen. So we were finally able to get him here. Him and his kids are spending the night. Our kids are having a sleepover kind of thing. So we're really happy to have you, Jay. And we'll dive right into it.
I just forgot to say I work with Compassion International. I travel around the US and Canada to speak about to help kids who are in poverty, just like I was, because Compassion releases kids from poverty in Jesus' name. I also started my own organization called South Village, based in Mathare, Nairobi, Kenya. And what we do is also free kids from poverty through mentorship. So we help them get mentors who can help them get out of poverty, because poverty is more mental as much as it's physical. And actually, I'm going to be going to Kenya tomorrow, and we're going to teach the kids in Mathare how to play golf, a game that people never thought like somebody from a slum can play. And like I said, because poverty is mental, so the idea is for those kids to know that if they can play a game of golf, which is almost impossible for a kid from a slum to play, then there's nothing they cannot do. So that's also a way of challenging them. But I'm excited about giving back. I'm excited to see kids or people being free from poverty, because I grew up in poverty myself, and I know how bad can be and humiliating. But I know that we are better than that, and I want to be part of the change.
Oh, that's good. And do you mind explaining to us, like, how did you get into the organization?
With Compassion is that I actually used to be in the program growing up. I grew up in Mathare, Kenya, and so I used to be in the program of Compassion. So I was one of the kids that was sponsored through Compassion. I was released from poverty. And so the reason why I go around the country is that I go to tell my story of how I was released from poverty. And so that's basically how I started working with compassion. And it's still the same thing that led me to start the organization, is because I felt like as a little kid, if I had the mind that I had now, that I have now, in Kenya, growing up poor, what are some of the things that I would have wanted? And one thing that I realized, most of us, we didn't have mentors growing up. Most of the kids growing up, you realize their fathers are never there. The mothers, even though they might be there, they don't even have time, or even they themselves didn't go to school, so they don't have an opportunity to even talk to the kids. They don't even know what to tell them. Also, I've met people here who help kids, like let's say Americans who help kids in poverty, but then the best they can do is like, oh, pay for your school, pay for this, but it gets to a place whereby there's some things that you can't pay for, like encouragement, like mentorship. So that's when I was like, okay, if we start something to pay our Kenyans in the diaspora to mentor kids in Kenya, one, they know the problems, they speak the language, and so it's easier for them to talk to a kid. And so that kid can feel like, man, I have a big brother or a big sister, and so you can help them out of poverty, beginning with their mental thinking, like they can know that they can do anything in this world. So so being part of it, so fighting poverty for me is personal.
That's very powerful, because it's very different when you have someone mentoring you, or someone you're looking up to who you cannot relate to. When it's someone you see, oh, okay, I came from here, I came from the slums, and here I am, years later I'm doing good. It's more personal. You can go like, okay, so you came exactly from the situation I am in right now, and you're able to be there. They can relate more. And I see the same thing even with my kids. Like, sometimes one of my kids can be afraid to do something, but the minute the other kid starts doing it, it's not an issue anymore. It's like, oh, he did.
So
my brother did it
too.
And that's the mentality. That's the mentality. If you realize, like, most of us, when we get out of poverty, especially where I'm from, people don't come back to say, hey, I used to be here. So people want to live a certain life and not identify themselves with like, oh, I came from Mathare, because Mathare is one of those places that is despised. Mathare, Kawangware, hata kwenyu, Kibera, all these slums, like people don't like to identify themselves. But then what happened to the kids that are growing up there? Do they have any hope? Do they believe that they can come out of it? I like to be proud from Mathare, because I know there are kids who might hear my story and be encouraged. And why, another thing, why we want to make sure that Kenyans who are not in Kenya are mentoring the kids is, another thing is that, do you realize when we were growing up, anytime there was need, we'd only see Mzungus, white people coming to help. And so growing up as kids, our mentality was like, man, all the white people have money, a lot of money.
And those are the only people who can help.
Yes, and they do. But at the same time, what happens to the Africans who are already doing well? How are we being a good example? And the other thing, the Bible says that if you give, it will be given back to you. So there's a blessing that we miss simply because we keep it to ourselves. So we allow, one thing about Americans, I'm going to give it to them, they are givers. They give a lot. And one thing about when it comes to giving, the principle of giving, whether you're a believer or not, the principle of giving in the Bible is the same. It says you give and it will come back to you. It doesn't say whether you're a Christian or not, you give. And so what happens is that by allowing these other guys to come and give in our community, what they do is that all we do is receive. But they give us and then they receive more. We only receive from them, and that's it. So the Bible does not say what's going to happen to the person who's going to receive, but it says what's going to happen to the person who's going to give. So we want, as Sauti, we want to encourage a culture of giving and giving to our community and making sure that we get the blessing of giving and the blessing of receiving, so that we have them all together. So we can talk so much about that, but I'm so passionate about that.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, good job.
You are, for sure. And not only do you give, but you can also adopt a child, right?
Right, through compassion. So compassion gives an opportunity to actually sponsor a kid. So you pick a kid and it's a one-on-one thing. And so that's as far as compassion. So Sauti is mentorship. It's like you're becoming a mentor to this little kid. You're kind of holding their hand to work with them. So you can either or, you don't go wrong. So we're encouraging more Africans to be on the forefront of giving.
And how do you do the mentorship? Is it like Zoom call? If, let's say, someone wants to be a mentor to one of the kids,
right,
is it a Zoom call, or do you have to be there physically, or how does the communication work?
So we have 3 types of mentorship. One of them is the one-on-one, which you as the main mentor, you do that via Zoom.
Okay.
The reason why we're picking Kenyans to sponsor Kenyans and a boy to mentor a boy and a girl is because, first of all, there is an attachment that you get from a male figure or a female figure. So some of those kids who don't have the male figure, you want them to get that. So you do that one-on-one is via Zoom.
Okay.
So the kids go to the center every Saturday. So at some point there's because of time difference, we have to hit it at a certain time where guys here are up, and then it's gonna be like in the afternoon in Kenya.
Yeah.
So you do the Zoom meeting. That's one way of mentorship. Another way is if somebody is in Kenya locally and they have a gift or they have a talent that they can share. Like we've had Moji going there to sing with the kids. So we've had people going to talk to them. So that's a second way locally. The third opportunity is like what we're doing with Alexis, who is a pro golfer. So if somebody is not an African, is not a Kenyan, but they have something that they can offer to the kids, we go and take them to teach them. Because here's the point. We don't want to be used to the handouts. Because you give me food today, you have to give me tomorrow.
True.
But then the idea is like, what is some of the things that we can leave with these kids that they can have? So we kind of giving them, training them in things that they can use: photography, videography, playing golf, all these things. Because one thing is that I remember growing up in poverty when I did my class 8, which is like 8th grade. Normally after that, if you don't do well, you don't even go to a high school. So my mom didn't think I was even going to go to any high school. So usually the idea is like, so are you going to do mechanic? Like usually like there's nothing to do. And so most of the kids freak out, and that's how they start stealing. They become thieves because they're like, man, I definitely want to have a good life, but because of my grades, I'm not even able to go further in as far as career. And so they freak out, they start doing things, they start stealing. And so what happens is that right now we are trying to give them options. Let's say you didn't do well academically, but you can be a good photographer. You can be a good dancer. You can be a good YouTuber. Like there's so many things that you can do. So we want to give them all these tools so that when they get to a place where they are like, okay, my academics cannot give me a job, but then I have these tools that I can pick to use and make an income, and I don't have to be a thief. Because man, we've had a lot of kids being killed and going to prison just because of that.
That's wonderful, man. We're glad of the job you're doing, the work you're doing with those kids, and it's just amazing. And we hope more and more people can join in and hold hands with you and just bring hope back to Africa, back to where because we all came from there. I same thing, I came from there, but not as hard as he did. My life was,
you and your brother keep on saying that
we had a good life.
Kawangware is not Muthaiga.
Do you know the crazy? You want to know the crazy thing? I only knew where I'm from, Kawangware was a slum when I got older.
Right.
And I started hearing people say, oh, the slums of... I remember very well.
Didn't think
I had
you lived
it
in
in
a
the
slum?
news. I didn't think I lived in a slum. They said the slums of Kawangware. I'm like, no, Kawangware is not a... I've seen slums.
No, I think the reason why is because for you to go to Kawangware, you have to go through Lavington, right?
Yeah.
So you guys, I think you have that mentality of Lavington, like you're on the other side.
You thought you were in Lavington.
We have nice, clean toilets. We have roads. We have electricity. We have all, the necessary infrastructure for operating community.
Okay.
Where else in a slum is like squeezed up hard. Like when you go to Kibera, for example, you know you're in a slum.
Oh yeah. And I hear you. I think I get what you're saying. I think there are different levels of slum.
I guess it's levels.
But you're right. Kawangware is not as crazy as Mathare and these other places. Especially if you guys had a bathroom inside the house.
Yeah, some houses do.
Yeah.
But did you have one inside your house?
Eventually, the house, the final house I lived in before.
No. We're not talking about the final. We're talking about growing up.
Growing up, we were like two rooms, and we shared 7 people in that 2 rooms. But as we grew older, my parents became better and better financially. We were able to move to like a bigger house and. But so man, I'm glad you're doing all that.
And one thing I like about your organization, the new one, the
Sauti
Village, is the fact that you are encouraging talents. Because I think growing up, our parents, they thought education is everything, and there are some people who are not good with education, so you showing them, hey, you can play soccer, you can harness your talent. You know, I think that's just a wonderful way, because here in the United States we really encourage our talents and our gifts, what God has given us. But if education doesn't work out for you, hey, you can play soccer, you can play golf, you know.
And actually nowadays you realize most of the most paying job, actually there are people, it's not even like education. Like here people who play NFL, like those people, they're making lots of money. LeBron is a billionaire just out of playing basketball. He's still playing basketball. And also, just to be personal, for me, I ended up being a DJ. Like still arts is the one that actually helped me out. But you see, I didn't even have somebody to actually coach me to do it well. But even no matter how rough it was, it still paved way for me. And so with that, we want these kids to know that there's so many talents, there's so many things that they can do besides stealing, and because some of them get to be killed and all this stuff. And so, but again, if they don't know anything else, what do you expect them to do? Like if somebody is hungry, they're hungry. They gotta feed themselves. They get children early. They gotta feed their families. So what are they going to do? So if we all come together and see, okay, and this is my challenge to all Africans. And I know some of us say, oh man, I have people that I take care of who are my family. But I'm like, is there any child that you're taking care of that is not necessarily your family?
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine if all Africans are able to be like, you know what, I'm going to mentor a child, I'm going to mentor a child. How many kids are going to have that mentorship? They're going to know, like, you know, the opportunities. There's so much we can do. And so we don't need to sit back and say, oh, I cannot do anything. There's always something that you can do. There's something that you think is not important to you. It's very important to somebody else.
That's true. That's true. Oh, thank you. And I think now you can introduce the topic for today.
Finally.
Yes.
Well, it looks like we're just about to finish.
Thank you guys. See you on the next one.
So today's topic, we just wanted to touch on the struggles that men, African men, go through here in the United States of America. And maybe I can start with you, babe. What are some of the struggles that you have seen men going through, since of course you are a man?
Nothing. America is wonderful. Guys, let no one lie to you. No, for real.
He was paid to say that.
Yeah, seriously. No. I will say my life is much easier here than it was in Kenya, but the struggles are still there. It's just they're different here. I mean, for one, let me how it is over here is, if something happens, right, an accident, a fire, and you call 911, they always be like, are there children there? Yes. Are the children safe? Are there women? Yes, the women are safe. Are there dogs? Pets? Yes, the dogs are safe. Okay, we are coming. You're like, what about me? Are you asking about? They don't care about men. It's like children, women, pets. Men is like, you can figure things out. So it's like when it comes, and that's just that one instance. But in every other instance, men are the last in everything. You know, like, it's almost like the whole system, in a sense, is made to help everyone else except the man. And I guess the way they look at it is like, men should be able to go out there and look for and fend for themselves and build the nation up. You know, they say men build a nation. So it's like the way they see it is like the need goes to the people who need it.
Right.
And men don't need anything, right? And that's just one aspect of it. And then the other aspect of it is like, we don't speak it enough, but when we were raised up, we're like, men can't cry. Men have to hold things inside. So right now, a lot of men are going through mental issues. You know, like you can't speak. And if you speak about it, right now it's a little bit better. People are becoming to understand. But if you speak about it before, people are like, man, shut up. What are you talking about? You're a man. And it's like, but we do have the same, you know, we go through hard things as well. And sometimes you need someone to speak about it. You need like that community, a group of men you can just talk to and discuss. And so it's a lot of things, but we're getting there. Yeah.
And have you personally experienced something that you thought, oh man, if I was a woman, I don't think I would have gone through this?
Well,
have you ever thought to be a woman?
No.
I haven't thought of it like that, but
it's
just that, you know, how do I say it? It's just that things are just harder for men in very many ways, right? Even the kind of jobs, there's some jobs that only men, I don't want to say only men can do, but it's like mostly geared towards the male industry. Well, some job, and those jobs are usually very hard. Like, men do hard jobs. Even the jobs, even when I came here, like, let me tell you, for example, right? Like, when I came here, the first job I did, I went to work for a warehouse. Sorry, I went to work in a warehouse. And we were making some things, I don't even know what they were. We were making this stuff that they put rocks in, and then they take to the beach to, like, build, when the waves come and they take away the beach. So it's like a barrier thing. That job is no joke. And I'm like, did I come to America to do this? Like, the job was so hard. By the time I left, my whole body's aching. And then later on, like, some women friends came over and they got jobs, and I'm like, and they tell me that the first jobs they got, oh yeah, I got a job in an office as a front desk. And I'm like, oh my goodness.
Were there women in that in that company?
No, there were in the office.
In the front office.
The front, that everybody else, and the job was so hard because all the guys who were there, like, I went there for like maybe a week. I never saw that. Every day I would see new people. When you do the job one day, you're like, no, I'm not going back. And they'll be like, oh no, I'm not going back. But but I wouldn't say I've experienced like tough things, but I do see it, maybe not personally in my life,
but in other people.
I do see it. We think things cannot happen to us, and it's good to pray and believe some things won't happen to you, but if
you find
we're all human, you can always find yourself in some situations, and I think the saddest one is where, and maybe I'm saying too many things at once, I should spread this out, but it's like if someone I'm trying to be sensitive with this, but someone can say, like a lady, if they can just say, oh, he did this to me 5 years ago or whatever, they won't do any investigation. Like, they'll just take you. No investigation. It's like, that's the truth, and no one doubts it. And and it's so sad because when I was in high school, a really good friend of mine, that happened to his brother. Like, some lady was interested in him and he wasn't interested in her. He was like a really good church leader, praise and worship guy, like those really good men. Like, those men, even us men, we say, hey, that is a good man. Anyways, this lady, I guess, from what the brother told me, was interested in him. He said no, and then she just started screaming.
She made up stuff.
Yeah, she made up stuff. The guy was in jail for like 10 years.
Well, are you talking about the story of Joseph? What happened?
Oh, Joseph. No, it was actually my best friend in high school, his brother.
For 10 years?
Yeah, he was jailed. The brother was jailed for like 10 years. Back in high school. No, like 2 years ago. I'm still young. So 2 years ago in high school. No, but that was a few years ago. And that's just one of the instances. And for good, I guess they do that for good reason, because it's like, you can't really, after it's happened a long time ago, it's really hard to get that evidence. But also, it's sad that there's really no due process that goes into it. It's just they believe the lady and that's it. It's a done deal. Come here, go to jail.
They do the investigation later. That's so
You're
sad.
lucky if they actually get to do the investigation later. Because
Yeah,
sometimes if there's nobody who is there to talk on your behalf, then
That's it.
Yeah.
So, and for you, Jay, what are some of the challenges that you have faced that you think men go through here in the United States, African men go through in the United States?
Well,
first of all, why did you move to Texas?
Well, I think why I moved to Texas is part of the struggles and part of the reason why we actually talk whatever we're talking about. But to begin with, like Jimmy said, like coming to US was good, and it was good for most of us because the opportunities plenty.
Yes.
Compared to where we came from. And so we are coming as men, like, men, you want to make it in life, you want to do it for your family and all that. And we are all excited, but we are so naive coming to a country that, remember, every time you come to a country, there are systems in this country. And those systems, they've been there for years and years, and there's no way you can bend those systems. And apparently, when we came here, we came into those systems and we started getting into them. And I think for me, I've never worked, I don't know how I'm going to say this and not sound, I've always been in the speaking business, like I'm a motivational speaker.
True.
And so I cannot speak on behalf of what Jimmy is saying, like working hard. Well, it sounds like I don't work hard.
Working was really manual jobs.
Yeah, manual jobs. Like I have not had those that kind of job. Actually, the only thing that I've done, I've painted once. I used to be a painter, and I've done some drywall, but that's it. Other than that, I've been a motivational speaker for the most part of my life here in the US. And so on that side, I don't know. But the side that I know is that when it comes to marriage here in the US, it's kind of a challenge. Because, like I said, the systems have already been set up, and so you find like you get married, just like he's saying, stuff happen. If anything happens, don't even go even to the law, even your friends. Let's, for example, like I was married, and when my marriage ended, the first marriage, immediately there are people that are my friends. I got to hear people saying, "Oh, Jay cheated." Like I'm like, dude. They don't even give you an opportunity to explain. So it's like there are those assumptions that men will always do this, men will always do this. And so for me, actually, now to answer your part of the question is like moving out of Georgia. I actually love Georgia. If anybody who knows me, I've actually, most of my friends, Kinasamu, Benachi, like most of my friends, I actually recruited them to Georgia because I'm like, man, I love Atlanta, I love Georgia. So, and because I was doing music, I was hoping to have a lot of people here who do music, so that when we're doing anything, it's gonna be easier. And so I really love Georgia. But then, when my marriage ended, we had going to court and all that, and after that, because of the troubles that came with it, I found myself in jail. And that was so surprising because I never thought like that can be me. And I'm trying to rush through this story, but just to piggyback a little bit, when I was in trouble, that's the marriage issue, I was so naive, like, you know what, we're just gonna go to court. They're just gonna go, how much do you make, and then that's it. And that's it. That's what I thought. But then you go to court, and then you realize the law is not fair to men. Like, honestly, you're trying to speak, and then like the judge is not even giving you and one of the biggest mistakes that I did is I would actually want to tell any man that, first of all, I hope that nobody gets there. But we're in the world that this happens all the time. But if you happen to be there, don't you ever go to court without an attorney. That was my number one mistake, and I can tell people, no matter how much you have a good case, it doesn't matter. If you don't have an attorney, somebody to represent you, because these people know the law, they know how to work around some things. Sure. So you are somebody who, like, can you imagine me with my Kenyan accent trying to go against an experienced attorney? And you know what attorney they do is that, unfortunately, your life gets to be turned inside out, both you and your partner. And what they do is that they are trying to, for somebody to win a case over you, they have to discredit you as much as they can. So for me, one thing that was so humiliating is knowing that I'm a good father. Nobody needs to tell me this. I know I'm a good father, I'm a present father, and I have been from day one. But then you go to court, and then here is the other side, and especially the attorney, that they try to show how I'm a bad father, I'm not a present. I'm like, who are they talking about?
Wow.
That's not me.
That's not me. But it doesn't matter what the truth is. Whatever they say is the truth that you can prove. And I could not prove my truth, but the other people could prove what they thought was the truth. And by the end of the day, whatever happened. And so all that thing happened. Eventually, I was ordered to pay a lot of money that I couldn't pay, and I got into a lot of trouble with the law. Eventually, when we went to court, to go back to court later on, then I was told, man, you haven't paid this, you haven't done this. Jail. Let me tell you, there are some things that you think they are far away. You know, you hear things happen to people, like, oh no, that cannot happen to me. That's not me. Dude, anything that you see happening in this world, it can happen to anybody, even you. And so for me, when we were going, when they took me from the courthouse to go to the jail, the cop that was with us, because usually there's a cop, they're not inside, but they take you inside. He was asking me, dude, you don't look like a crackhead, you don't look like a thug. What? Of course, he's an African American. He used a curse word. What they brought you here? Like, he could not. He said you don't fit anything to be here.
You don't fit the profile.
Like, there's nothing about you that says or looks like you're supposed to be here. And I was like, yeah, I know too, but there's nothing that I could do. But anyway, I went through the whole thing, and eventually, by God's grace, a lot of people came together, and man, I'm so grateful for the Kenyan community. The way people say that, you know what, I just want to go to an American church, you know. You go to the American church until you get in trouble. I mean, Kenyans, we have our own challenges, but I'm telling you, if I didn't have Kenyans to rally behind me, it would have been bad. I know there's some few Americans that came through, but I'm telling you, most of them are Kenyans. And one thing with Americans, it's not that they don't have money. They have money, and they can support, but because of culture, Americans are like, no, this is more of a personal thing. But you know, as Kenyans, we're like, no, this is a person that is going through stuff, let's help them. So anyway, that's how Kenyans came through, and they supported me. But then after the whole ordeal, man, I was like, you know what, I love Georgia, I would love to be here, but I just had a bad taste and everything that happened. And at this point, I had actually been married, my now current wife. And so my car was taken out. I used to have like ride shares. I would do, what are they called? It's like private, those luxury cars. I had one that was taken away.
Like the limousine type.
Like the limousine kind, yeah, those black cars.
So the court took it away from you?
Yes, apparently they were saying that because I'm not able to pay all the child support, and yet I'm driving a luxurious car, so I shouldn't have that car.
So even was it paid off?
No, it wasn't. Even though I told them that car, it wasn't. I didn't take that car for sure. It was for business.
It was for business.
Because at this point, remember, it was after COVID and all that. So my job wasn't doing well. So I was actually taking this car to help me get some money. But then they are not looking at that side. They are looking at, oh, you have a luxury car. So they took it out. So that was one thing that they took out. The second thing is that the job that I had or that I have, at that point I was stopped. So I can't drive, I can't work, and I got married, and I have bills to pay. So the reason why, and I'm saying this is the reason why I moved to Texas is because my wife works with American Airlines. She had an apartment. This is a good thing, because before we got married, she had like 6 months that she was going to take an apartment for only, I told her, just take an apartment for 6 months, because after we get married,
so
there's no discussion.
To stay here for her to move in.
I had actually told her there's no discussion. I'm not moving to Texas. I made that clear, and she's like, I get it. So I told her, take an apartment for only 6 months, because immediately after the wedding in December, we're moving. And you guess what? She moved her stuff, but she took apartment they couldn't give her for 6 months. It was too expensive, so she ended up taking for a whole year. And so we were like, okay, for that we're gonna be going back and forth, but there's no way we're gonna. She actually moved all her stuff. She was living in Georgia for maybe a month or so, but then when the whole thing happened, and I was like, you know what? Even actually in jail, there's some guys there who were telling me, man, Cobb County is not good for black people. And then I was like, man, I have seen it. And so for me, because of that, there was everything that was happening. It was the most painful thing to move away from Georgia, mainly because my daughters live here. And you guys know how much I love my kids. I love to be in their lives. I love to see them grow and everything. But then sometimes, and this is where sometimes men find themselves in a very tough situation, sometimes you insist on, you know what, I want to be here, but mentally you're not ready. You're not set to even be seeing your kid. And so for me, I had to move away just so that, I can clear my mind and I can start afresh. And so, so challenges for me when it comes to marriage, and when like divorce happened, I have seen and I've had a lot of men telling me, man, I lost my kids. Like you see, I was a present dad. There's no. I was actually a stay-home dad. This is what I would do Monday through Friday. I'm staying home with my girls. Then Saturday and Sunday, I would only work 2 days, and it was enough to feed the family.
True.
But even with all that, there's no like, oh man, he has been a present dad, so you know what, we can understand and we can, try and be lenient or something. There was nothing about that. Like, forget about it. Anyway. So such happen to people, to men, especially who have been married and divorced. There's some of them who've actually been told, oh, you abused your kids, stuff like that. There's somebody that I know that actually went to jail because the woman said like, you've been abusing your kids. And so when it gets to that part of divorce, I think men have it very rough in the US, and it's very hard. So most of them, like Jimmy is saying, fall into depression. They feel like life is not worth it because everything is taken away from you. There are people who you work and all your money goes child support. Like you're like, okay, what do I even have to work? But then here's the deal: if you don't work, you become homeless. You and I are talking the other day. It's so easy to become homeless in this country, and some of the people that are homeless, it's not because they are any different. There's just something happened, and some of them is something like this. So when it comes, I would speak in terms of when it comes to marriage, men are having it hard, especially when there's a divorce involved. The law automatically, they give the kids to the mother, and it's like they don't even consider the father. And so you're like, okay, can they even try and consider, first of all, does this father want to be in the kid's life? Has he been in the kid's life? If they were able to consider something like that, okay, that one we understand. But if let's say somebody is not there for their kids, in that case, then don't give them the kids if they've never been there and they don't want to be there. But if a father wants to be there for their kids, just allow them to have that time. And so I have seen and heard a lot of men going through these challenges. Like it's so common. Like anytime you hear it, oh, marriage. Some people that their life have come down just because of that, and so that's part of what I can say for me when it comes to challenges, because for me it's fresh, it's recent, and it happened to me.
Wow. So when you say you were told to sell your car, so is the court, the judge that is telling you to sell?
It was an order.
It was a court order.
Right, and part of the reason why I went to jail is because when they said I sell it, I couldn't sell it because one thing is that the car was upside down because I owed a lot of money. And so when you take it back, you have to pay a lot of money to take it back because first of all, the car is upside down because you can't sell it to anybody the same price that you owe the car.
I know what upside down means, but elaborate to our fans.
In other words, like my when you take a car and it's worth 10,000, and so you drive the car. After some time, you're trying to take back the car, but the car is, let's say, is worth 10,000, and it's worth 8,000.
It's lost value.
No, like you owe 8,000, but the value of the car is like 4,000 or 5,000. So upside down, you owe
pretty much negative.
Yeah, so if you sell it, you're gonna have some areas that you have to pay extra. So they was telling me to sell the car that had that, and eventually, because it was a Suburban, one thing about Suburbans, when they get to about close to 100, the transmission. The transmission was messed up, and so it was like there's no way for me to take back this car unless actually
fix it first.
So when I couldn't do that, so when I was in jail, so they were like, dude, for you to get out, you have to pay $27,000, and you have to sell your car. So how do you sell your car when you're in jail?
So what did you do?
So thank God I was married, and what my wife did is that she got the power of attorney. So when you have the power of an attorney, you can make a decision on behalf of somebody. So she made the decision on my behalf because we talked and like, okay, just give the car back. So she gave the car back to the bank. So it's like I was left with debt. So all that debt is like and you know how they are. Like, you're giving it back. Oh, you owe us like. So that's what happened.
And that affected your credit.
It did, and it affects a lot of credit for men for such things. And after I had built my credit, but anyway, at this point, credit was not more important than just me being out and being free. But so that's crazy. But sometimes you're like, are these judges? Are they thinking straight? But this is what happened. because I didn't have an attorney, so the other side came with an attorney. And like I said, it's a very experienced attorney, and they had a lot of demands. Because I didn't have an attorney, guess what? They were given everything that they asked for. So can you imagine how sometimes people ask for crazy stuff? You know, when you're going, like your attorney can go crazy. Let's go crazy. We can ask for this and this and this and this and this. And then they were told everything that you ask.
You got it.
And that's what happens.
So and then on top of that, you had to pay the attorney fees as well?
So I was ordered to pay even her attorney's fees. So I don't have an attorney. The reason I don't have an attorney is because I don't have money, but then I had to pay her attorney fees. And besides that, it's not that I had not attempted to have an attorney. I had 2 attorneys previously, but let me tell you, and attorneys are very notorious. Attorneys, I actually recently had a very good one. It's very rare to find like a very good attorney. Most of them, they are after money. Let me not lie to you. This is what they say. They all have the same language. Oh, let me hear your case. Oh, Oh, okay. You have to give me a retainer of 3,500. That's the cheapest. Otherwise, you'll hear 5,000 is the retainer. I was like, okay, that was I didn't understand what a retainer was like. Okay, what do you mean by a retainer? So retainer, you give me 5,000, and so as I work for you, I will pay myself from this retainer. So I don't have to come asking you for money. So I have this money as a retainer. I can be paying myself as I'm working for you. So what that means is that when this retainer is out, you have to replenish.
More,
My friend, within 2 months, we have used 3,000. I'm like, for what? Like, I don't.
And you have not even gone to the court.
No, before you go to court, I can guarantee you the retainer that you gave them is going to be out.
Oh yeah, it's gone.
And so when you go to court, it's actually more.
Do they even show you the evidence to show you, okay, this is what I've been working on? They do.
They send you stuff that don't make sense. Oh, we've been working on your case like this. What do you mean you've been working on? Like, I don't know what these are. Like, we call the other attorney, they put a fee. And honestly, some of them you don't even know, we've been doing on this on your case, we've been doing this research. I'm like, then your money is out.
They charge you for research they'll charge you for research. If they send an email, they can charge you per word. For the email they send, like one letter is $5. So like a whole email was 200.
And then there's somebody who had to review.
Then they had to send someone to court.
They have to pay the person to review as well.
Then when they were working, they were very hungry. They ordered Uber Eats.
And I'm telling you, like that. This is something that is actually happening a lot, and I've talked to a lot of men about this particular thing. And so you're like, man, my money is out.
So what's the way around it? Is there a way around it, or it's just you're stuck with
I'm yet to figure out a way around it. But one thing is that you have to pray to God to get the right attorney, because if you get an attorney that actually want to represent you, they might cost you, but it's not gonna be over there. You know, some of them, like the one that I had last, man, her name is attorney Julie. And I'm telling you, I only paid her once.
And that was it.
I paid her once, I think 3,500, and that's it. But that's after I've gone through, I don't know, 2 attorneys, which I still owe some of them.
So like, what happened to the other attorneys? They didn't show up to court? Or
No. In the process, when your money is out and you cannot replenish, then they drop you. So they're like, dude, your money is out. You have until next week to give us 3,000 more. Oh, you haven't given us 3,000. We're gonna write to court, and because they have to write to the court and say they have dropped you. So that's what happened. Especially the second one. The second one did nothing. In fact, the only thing she did was we had a mediation, not a mediation. We had they usually before you go to court, they can do what the pre-hearing, like it's an online thing. And then here's the crazy thing. My attorney, I'm telling my attorney, this is how much I earn. And this is for real, this is how much I earn. So I want you to help me go to as you go to talk to the judge, just let them know how much I earn. You know what my attorney is telling me? Are you able to find more work and pay for what they're asking? I'm like, what am I paying you for? I'm paying you to tell me something like that. But because all they want is money. And here's the deal. Honestly, I had gone for a certain attorney, which I know, okay, this is the attorney that wanted to help me. And I'm going to be honest, it was a black attorney. Because I thought at some point, because the other side was an American, Caucasian, I think let me go to somebody who is my same color. There are some things I know they could understand, because some things are cultural and you don't have to explain a lot. So I went to this black attorney, and then she gave me another attorney under her law, her firm, to work with me, who was not a black attorney. I'm like, do you realize you're the face? There are people who are coming to you because of that. And I don't have a problem with white attorneys. That's perfectly okay. But to me, you see, this attorney was asking me to work more. I'm like, okay, I understand I need to work more, but at the moment, this is how much I've been earning. Let's talk about how much I've been earning. And so finding an attorney, I think, is one of the biggest issues. And actually, most of my friends, I'm like, man, how do I get a good attorney? I don't know. Most of them, honestly, they will cost you. And here's what I would say. If honestly, I pray that nobody, well, like I said, it's not like somebody's planning to get to divorce. You know, nobody gets married like, oh, let's get married and then after so we're going to divorce. No, that's not the plan. But if you happen to be there, my prayer is that if these two people can agree, you know what, you and I are not working out. Can we separate amicably? Because what you can do, you can both come agree. Yes, you can get an attorney for both of you to just write a document, and then you guys can, because whether you like it or not, money is gonna be eaten. Let me talk like a Kenyan. Watakula pesa. And so if you guys can come together, like, you know what, we have children, how, if you can be fair, but I'm sorry, but I'm gonna say this. When it comes to such issues, women are very ruthless, my friend. When it comes to that, because men are like, and this is even in a normal relationship, men are like, you know what, we were dating, man, me and you are not working. It's okay, you do you, I'm gonna do me. And actually, men are like, you know what, I wish you have a good life and a happy life. Women are like, dude, this guy, I'll make sure this guy is not gonna date anybody. Oh, they actually say, the person is gonna come date you. Oh, they'll find you your trash or something, and they will make sure that happens. And so,
I think for women it's so, yeah, you're right. So I think for women it's like two ways. This is what I think. This is unsolicited opinion. So on one part, like you said, there's that bitterness, right? Like they're mad at you, like you know, you're living now, I have these kids, you know, I have to, because I'm assuming you have to think about, now I have to go back and start looking for people again, you know. It's easier for men than women, even when you have kids. That's just the truth.
Right.
Even a man who has kids, you're still hot cake. A woman who has kids, men's kind of see you like, you know. So maybe they think about that, now they're bitter about that, then they're like, you'll just go on with your life, you know. So in a sense, they can feel like that, like, man, I want to make your life hard. And then now in the court system, now on the other side, the government looks like it, not all houses, but most houses, men are the providers, so they bring more income. Or even if they don't bring more income, they take care of more bills in the house. And like you said, most of the time the court will award the children to the mom, because the way they look at it is the moms will do a better job with the kids. So the court system, now when the lady comes, she wants to take as much and keep as much
advantage,
as, you know. And the court is on her side, because they know, she needs all these things. Give her the house, the car, the everything. So I guess that's where the ruthlessness
But you see,
comes in.
When the court does that, how does that help children? You and I were talking today, we understand that for kids to actually have a proper upbringing, they need to be a father figure.
They need to be,
of course, they need both parents, but for the most part, men are always not there for whatever reason. Whether it's a girl or a boy, they need a father figure to know that, you know what, I have a dad. And I see that with my girls when we are around. They're so proud to say about my dad and all that. Like, there's some things that they want to show me. They want their daddy to say, good job, congratulations. And so when they don't have that, what happens is that those kids start looking for that in other men. And that's how women start going with other older men, because they're looking for that father figure in that. And so even though sometimes your men can be overlooked, there's a huge job that they do. And sometimes maybe you don't see that. But because rightfully so, you see a lot of women, they work hard in the family. They are cooking, they're cleaning and all that. And sometimes, and I know men need to help when it comes to that, but we cannot ignore the fact that a father being there, they actually do so much. Especially for the upbringing of the kids.
That's true.
And especially
but
for... I'm sorry, what were you saying?
No, it's okay. I wanted to say, but you guys, you have to realize it's not all women who are like that. You know, it's just... It's not all of them.
All of them, but you know what? sometimes you just go with mostly what happens, most of the cases. And then, I don't know if you've been there. Like, there are some things until you're actually at that place whereby this is happening to you, this person is leaving you for whatever reason, and then you're like, until you're there, there's a friend of mine called Desmond Commander. He says something, the perfection of the inexperience. If you've never experienced something, you can have that perfect example of what you can do, but it's not until it happens to you. So I know and I understand it's not all women, but again, it hasn't happened to all the women. But the ones that it has happened to, most of the majority, it doesn't end up well. And I know at the same time there are men that are messy. It's not like we're saying that all men are good. It goes both ways, because there are other men who actually behave like that. So it's not like only women, but for the majority part.
We have real life. She knows somebody she worked with.
Oh, really?
Your friend, the one who worked with, she had the better job than the husband. She was the...
Oh, yeah. So a friend of mine, we used to work together. So they ended up separating, and the court favored the husband.
Right.
And she had to pay the husband, even though she's the one who stays with the kids most of the time.
Yeah, but they look at salary. If a woman makes more.
Yeah.
So the way she told me, the way it was is, as long as he doesn't make a certain amount of money.
Yeah.
She always has to pay. So the guy never went to look for a job.
Yes, he never did.
To this day,
that's playing the system.
He is playing the system.
And you see, it's very bad when it's happening for men, but it's also bad when it's happening for women.
Yeah.
And so you see, sometimes the court makes this decision thinking with a man in mind, but only when it's the other way. So if only they can make it fair, it doesn't matter whether it's a man or a woman. And I know, if you are not taking care of the kids, first of all, I say shame on you as a man. You really have to be there for your kids. But for the men who want to be there for the kids, I think they should do this. Like, has this man ever been there for the kids? What does this man do for the kids? Then, okay, this guy wants to be in the kid's life. How do we make it easier for this man to be in this kid's life? Because for me, I honestly didn't have to move away from Georgia. I did not want to. Let me tell you, that's one of the hardest things that I had to do. To move away from my kid, that was the hardest thing. But I had to do it, because I'm like, the state of mind that I was in, I can't be there for my girls. I did not, and that's why you can't be forcing things. You want to do good thing, but the state of your mind, you need to take care of yourself first of all. Right now, I come and see my girls once a month, at least. But even if it's 2-3 days, they have like a very good dad for like mentally, I'm not like going crazy and all that. And so, even though it was the hardest thing, it was the best thing for me. And something else that I can add, when we were asking like what are the challenges of the men, and this is a different dimension that I had actually Miles Munro talking about it, and he was saying we always tell men, be a man, but we even have a good definition of what it is to be a man. Long time ago, when people were told to be men, it was so easy. Provide. Women were not working. I was supposed to go out, work, provide, come home, make babies, and give security in my family. Those three were the three main things. Women, you stay home, you take care of the kids, you take care of your husband, take care of the home. It was that simple. Nowadays, everything has changed. First of all, for you can have a job even better than...
True.
Yeah.
So first of all, when you're telling me to be a man and you're already making more than me, a little bit, that's like hard. The second thing, making babies, nowadays they can make babies without a man, like the technology, where the technology is.
Yeah.
When it comes to security, the law has made sure that the women have that security, especially when you have money, there are ways to... So what I'm trying to say is that everything that we knew about being a man is not there. And so we're telling people to be a man, but we don't have a proper definition of this generation at this time. What is it to be a man? And so you find some men are so confused. I'm like, okay, what can I do to be a man? What can I do to my wife to make her feel like, you know what, I'm a man and I want to be there for her? Because almost everything that I can offer, now she can get it somewhere else. And so those are some of another challenge that is happening right now. What is the true definition of a man? So Jimmy or Loise, if I can ask you now for a minute, if you think of a man, what do you think a man is, or what is it to be a man? In your right now, in this generation.
So I cannot speak for everyone. Like you said, everything has been, the lines have been blurred. Right. But I still believe the core things of being a man is the things that come innate in us, that are natural to us.
Yeah.
Just like there's some things that are natural to women. Like for example, when we got kids, there's a mode that my wife went into that I'd never seen. Like, let me give you for example. Before we had kids, men, we used to have the AC in our house all the time. Then our house was always cold. And then when you go into bed, now you have the cold sheets. Sorry, the warm sheets.
Yeah.
Man, the kids were born, bro, it's always... what's the temperature? It's probably 78.
Wow.
Like, our house is always warm. And you know why? It's a very simple reason. If the house is cold, the kids can get sick.
Oh, yeah.
How am I even going to compete with that?
You can't.
Yep. I don't want the kids to get sick. But that's just a side of her that came out. There's the nurturing in her that came out, and she's a natural mother. Excuse me. And she does a great job with that. Right? And I would say that is one of the, because it comes natural to them. No one taught her that. There's no school for being a mom. You know? And personally, on my side, even when I got, you know, in one video we spoke about it, and I said, one of my friends told me, when you're looking for a wife, look for a friend. You know, it's not just this is the guy who
you know, the funny thing is, we talked about it earlier today, and I told you about I told him about what you told me, what you said on the video, and then I asked you later, who is the friend that you were talking about, and I was like, it's Jay.
So he told me that, you know, it's not just...
I don't think they heard that. Tell them again.
What he told you. I told her, at that time I wasn't even thinking of marriage. It was years ago. Like, I had just come to the US, and I used to hang out with him a lot because we lived in the same complex. Anyway, so he told me, you know, when you're looking for a wife, man, don't just think about physical things, because men we're very physical, and that's just how we are. It is what it is. You know, that's how we think. We just think, oh, she gotta look good, she gotta have this and this. You don't cross that border and think, okay, what are the other things after that? So he was like, man, don't just think about that. You know, think about having someone who can be a friend. That even if that physical part of the relationship was taken away, you would still love this person. You'd still communicate with them. You still enjoy a good, you know, you enjoy life with them. And I said in the video, those are things I never thought about. Like, I'd never thought about in exactly what he described. Don't think about women in that sense. That's most what young boys think. And so, coming back to now, what I'm saying, like being a man in a family, you know, being a man right now, it's like, it's being a leader, right? And the way you become a leader is not that you force leadership. You know, you can't come and say, you know what, I'm the man in this house, you have to listen to me. You have to lead in a way that people want to come, you know, people want to follow you, right? You know, the best example would be Jesus. When Jesus came on this planet, he did not force anyone to be his disciple. They just saw him and they said, I will drop, you know, like they said, I will leave my fishing nets and I will follow you. You know, everyone just told him, I will follow you. He never forced it on anyone. Why? Because he proved he could be a leader. And it's the same way in a house. Your wife could make more money than you, which, let's be honest, the world we live in right now, women are making, let me say here in the US, women are making really good money, right? Like, I've seen some employers, you know, on TikTok and stuff, they say, I'd rather hire women. Women can multitask. You know, they are very neat. They can do a lot of employers say that. And then when you're good at that, guess what? You get more money. And now in the houses, now when we break it down to individual houses, women make more money than men. But yet, even we had that topic discussion with you. But yet, you see in some houses, women make more money, which, you know, what happens is when women make more money than men, they start despising them. They're like, what are you doing in this house? But yet, in some houses, not all of them, even with the women making all that money, they still peace. They still let the man lead. And so you ask yourself, why? It's because that man showed he's a leader. He's caring. He makes sure he's there for his woman. He protects her. He looks after her. He doesn't put his needs first, you know.
Yeah.
And so even with the money, that doesn't change anything. It's just that what you bring in is more than what I bring in, and that in some instances, even the men stay at home.
Yeah.
Like, you know, because we spoke about it, daycare is very expensive here in the US.
Man
It is
can
very
stay
expensive.
home and take care of the kids while
Yeah.
the woman is working.
Exactly. Someone stays home and takes care of the kids. And the other aspect is, it's not even the money part, it's just the school system. Sometimes people are like, I don't want my kids going through all that. Yeah, so I'd rather homeschool them. But that leadership aspect, where you provide that leadership, that comfort, that safe place, your wife can be a killer out there in the business world. Like, man, people like to say, hey, that lady, stay away from her. When you see her with her husband, she's calm. You're like, this.
Is this the same person?
Is this my boss?
Yeah.
You know? And so when you're a leader like that, which comes naturally to a lot of men because God has given it to us, the woman can easily follow you without fighting, without all those issues. So being a leader and being a protector in your family, even though now you can get that security and all those things, you know, still think about it. And I've had a lot of women say, they're like, I cannot travel alone. I cannot go on vacation alone. And you're like, why? Why would you not go on vacation alone? It's like, I don't feel safe. It feels weird going by myself.
Yeah.
So even in women, they know, even though there's all this security and things, I still need a man there with me.
Personal security.
A personal security to protect me. And not that we are all ninjas and we'll do all those things. But at the end of the day, if something was to happen, I'll readily give up my life for my wife and kids. Not even thinking twice about it, right? Even though I know I cannot win this war, I'll be like,
just have to try.
I'll be like, run.
As I deal with them.
You guys, let me try. You just run. Call the police.
While I fight.
Well, I do my best.
As they ask you, are there kids?
Is there women pets? You know. So those are just some of the things that I still think make us men. And even when I look back, because I had a really good example, and I thank God for that. My parents, they're still together to this day, and they've always had a good marriage, right?
Yeah.
And now that I've grown, I realize it's because some things they just hid from us. It's not their marriage was perfect, but I'm like, I've never seen my parents fight to this day. I've never seen it. And we lived in a 2-room house. So my question is, because I know they fought for sure.
When and where were they?
Where were they? You know, it's like either they did
Cold
it
War.
When you guys were sleeping.
Yeah, probably when we were sleeping.
Yeah.
But they did it so well that they gave us such a good example, a good manual that when I grew up, I already know what kind of marriage I want to have. I want to have what I saw in my family. I want to have what I saw in my dad. And you know, like the other thing, the reason why we need, you know, being a husband or a man in this world, and I'm speaking primarily from a marriage perspective because that's where I am.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it really applies the most in a household. Is there's authority that comes with a man, even when it comes to the kids. There's some things that the mom can tell the kids 1,000 times, they won't listen. But the dad can say it once, and you see that kid is like, yep. They will listen. It's not that I'm forceful. It's not that I'm using a harsh tone. But even you see like how naturally you're nurturing. Naturally in kids, they just have an inclination to like, when the dad speaks, dad speaks, they just respect it. They don't know why, but they respect it. And they were saying, they did a study, and they were saying that most men who grow up in single parent homes, specifically just moms, are usually the people who end up like lost. They'll end up in crime, they'll end up in those things. And one guy said it well. He said he grew up, his parents, his dad was left in, like, they immigrated, his dad was left in another country. But when he became a teenager at like 13, you know, that's where we grow. His mom hit him, and he's like, Mom, what are you doing? You can't hurt that boy anymore. Like, the respect is gone. He's like, at that point, you can't control that teenager.
Too late,
Yeah, but for dad, even now I'm a grown up, I'm an adult, I still respect my dad. You know?
Yeah.
So no matter how big you are, you'll never go and fight your dad. Like that was, you will always respect your dad. There'll always be that mutual respect. And because that is, you know, those single parent families where it's only moms, when that is taken away, the dad is not in the picture, mostly because of incarceration, you know, they're jailed and all that. So they're never in the kids' family, in the kids' life. Those kids go astray. So I still think men are important. Men are important, and no matter what the media tries to tell us, we still need strong men in every family.
Right.
And if you're a man, like Jay said, it's a shame if you're not, you know,
taking care of
intentionally there for your kids. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and just to add on that, for me, being a man is being a provider, someone who you can find security in, because as women we have a lot of insecurities. So when you have a man to lean on and you feel that you feel secured, that's very important. And just someone you can confide in, someone who is, I do believe, even though the man is the head of the house, both of you help each other. You know, he is your helper and you are his helper. You know, what I mean by that is that coming from the African household, we have learned that a man should do this and a woman should do this. You know, and we've mentioned about this so many times in our channel. But when you help each other, like what you guys are talking about right now, taking care of your children, being there for your children, even though our parents were very good to us, but there's that intimacy that we lacked from our dads, you know, because it's your mother who really took care of you, right? So I do believe not only do you confide in your spouse, but also just helping each other, you know, and also just putting your thoughts together. Someone you can ask, hey, I'm thinking about this and this, what do you think about this, you know? And if it's someone who truly loves you, someone who is genuine, I feel like it's someone that you will go far with, you know. It's not just someone down the line things won't work out, but at the end of the day, you don't know about tomorrow, you don't know what's gonna happen the next day. So some things you cannot really prevent them from happening. But yeah, I just think a man, he is the head, and for us women, it's hard for us to submit to men you know, but and I think that's the reason why the Bible says men love your wives and wives submit to you.
You're not told to love, you're told
we're
to submit. There's a reason.
Yeah, there's a reason why the Bible says that. So yeah, when I think about a man, I think that's who he should be.
And you know, for you said something that there's also a part that a woman plays. Let me tell you, even for me to be a man and to be the man that I am, my wife can make me or can destroy me.
True.
Yeah.
You know, as I say, I don't know if you guys have heard this when you're either dating somebody, and then there are people that you date, and you become this kind of a person that you've never seen. Maybe you're always fighting, and that's not who you are.
That's not who you are.
But then you get somebody who there's always peace, because I can get the best out of you or the worst out of you.
True.
And so when you get married to a woman, that's when you have to pray to God that, man, I want a wife that can see the best in me, not the worst in me. That can you know, when people, like right now, everybody has their own flaws, right? But am I gonna choose to see only your bad side, or can I be positive and see, okay, Loise, there's some few things about Loise, but let me concentrate on the positive things about Loise. So when you have a wife, why I'm saying this is because when the question is how can you be a man in this generation, and you spoke about sometimes most of the people who are married to people who are earning more, it takes a very submissive wife to be like, you know what, I'm making more than my husband, but my husband is still the head of this house.
He is still the
because
head
when the husband come and say, hey, we're not gonna buy that.
Yeah.
If the woman is making more, I'm like, dude, we are buying it. There's one person. There's one person that of course, I'm not mentioning names. I was with them in the car, and it was a very awkward moment for me because it was a husband and wife, and I was the only person. And so when we were in the car, they had some argument, and then the husband was like, "Do you wanna come and drive?" And the woman was like, "Sure, it's my car. Let me drive." I was like, "What? Why do you have to say that when I'm here?
Wow.
Like, do I even have to know that?"
Yeah.
And you see, that woman didn't have to say that. You can easily find a way of making your man feel like, you know what, you are our leader in this family. And it doesn't matter how much I earn, what direction do you want us to take? And if you as a woman keep on referring your husband as a leader, as a person who's going to take us there, guess what? You're going to build that man.
Yeah.
And that man is eventually going to take their place. And let me tell you, as a woman, if your husband becomes what God created him to be, to become a leader, to become a husband and a father in that family, you will be very happy. But the moment the husband is out of place, my friend, all of you are going to be out of place.
Sure.
Even you as a woman, you think, oh, you're very good. The fact that your husband is out of place, you and your kids, things are not going to be going well. You can say, oh, I'm taking care of my kids. The kids are going to school. I'm paying for them, everything. But is that really the family that you wanted? And so, like we were talking today, like really, I think one of the biggest decisions that you have to make, apart from, of course, receiving Christ, is who you're going to marry.
True.
Because who you're going to marry,
we've said that.
oh, you say that?
Yeah.
That can make who you are or who you're not. And I'm telling you, that's such a big deal. And so for men right now, as we are going through the stuff that people are going through, sometimes we're just getting a woman because of what she has and how she looks and all that. And that's fine. But the moment you get inside the house, you don't see all that. Let me tell you, a woman that was very beautiful can turn ugly very quick.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, because of her behavior,
Yeah.
what she's doing, what she's not doing, you'll be like, what did I even see in this woman? And let me tell you can take a woman who maybe physically she was not all that. But then after some time, you're like, man, I love this woman. She's the most beautiful, because of how she has taken care of the house, how she has taken care of, like you say, Jimmy, you're saying, how your wife has, like, there's some things that she started doing out of, like, you didn't even know that she had. As a man, you sit back, you're like, man, these women go through a lot. I see what my wife has to go through. Giving birth is not an easy job. It's a hard, like you see, going through that, taking care of kids, they're still working, and then you're sitting back, you're like, man, I was blessed to have such a woman. But on the opposite, if you have a woman who is not like that, then it's going to be like, man, what did I see in this woman? And probably other people are looking at her and like, hey, that husband, that guy has a very beautiful wife. And then you're telling them, I'm the one who know my wife.
Yeah.
Let's not discuss. If you see somebody, you have a very beautiful wife, and then they're not saying anything, something is not right. And so what I'm saying is that of course, a man can make a woman, of course, not make a woman. Like there's, like you're saying, you have some insecurities. Your husband telling you that you look good is different than I saying it. Like no matter what I say, if your husband does not think you look beautiful, you're still not gonna feel beautiful. And so there's that. There's an assurance. There's what you want to hear. Even the kids hearing from their dad. There's that, but also there's what you hear from your woman. And one thing about my wife is that, especially during this season that I was going through this stuff, man, she stood by me. Man, that woman, I felt bad for her when I was in jail. Like, I was not feeling bad for me, I was feeling bad for her. But man, she has gone through stuff, but man, she would hold me and look at me, at my face. You are my husband, you are my leader. Like, giving me those assurance. I'm like, man, even at this stage, even with everything, and she has always been showing me respect, and that has really built me up. Because let me tell you, when you're going this, you need somebody who can hold your hand. And there's no better person than somebody that you actually are married to, that they can say, you know what, I still believe in you as a husband. I still believe in you as a leader. And so I'm following you. It start to build you, and then now you can start getting up. And so whoever you get, man, it's a big deal. It's a big deal, and so we have to be careful who do we get married to. And you know, like I said the other, even today, like especially even for women, why some women find it hard to submit. I don't claim to know it, But part of my observation is when Jimmy asked you to get married to him, at that time you had the power to say no or yes.
Yes.
But most of the women rush to say yes. But do they even know what they're saying yes to?
Yes.
Are you saying yes? Do you think you like this man's leadership?
Yeah.
Do you even like his style? Do you even like his conversation? Is he somebody that you can just go and sit together and talk? You know, like, can you just go some place where there is no network, no phones, no nothing? Can you spend a whole weekend with this man? Let's say you're not being intimate. You're not even watching any TV. Can you just have a good time with this person and say, this is a good friend of mine? I think if women are able to, first of all, before I say yes, I know this guy looks like cool. I know people talk, oh, this guy is very hype and all that. He's the life of the party. Fine. But don't look at this guy that way. Look at this guy in strip everything. If he's a celebrity, forget about that. If he has good looks, forget about that. Look at this person as a leader, as a protector, as a father. If you cannot see him as that, it's okay at the moment they are proposing to you to say no or to say I'm not ready. But the moment you say yes, you have said no to their flaws, you have said no to everything that comes with them. It comes with it. And so by the time you're saying you're not going to submit, but you already said yes, and your yes was yes for everything. And so before you say that yes, take a pause and think, what am I saying yes to? But once you say yes, man, you gotta walk with this person.
And that's powerful. That's very powerful, especially on the side of women, because, and I advocate for the same thing, especially with women, because men, we're really good at, it's like our gift, especially some of us, we're really good at giving you a false. We can show you a man we are not.
Yeah.
You know, if I don't have the right intentions and I just, you know, I'm just trying to get into your pants, I can make myself into the man that you want.
Anything that you
we can, like, okay, you like A, B, C, D.
You like somebody who's prayerful?
Yeah.
Prayerful man. Yeah. I'm gonna go fasting.
I know, but the minute you get it, that man is gone. So I feel bad for women that they have such a hard time. And some women get confused, like, I don't even know what, I don't know what this man is. I don't understand him. So when he says that, like, take your time, like, I completely relate to that. And now, you know, back in the days when our parents, you know, not even back in the days, right now, they'd be putting pressure on you. When are you getting married? When are you getting married? Now when I see people not getting married fast and taking their time, you know what? With age comes wisdom. Like, the life partner you'll get at 18 is probably not the life partner you'll get at 28.
Definitely.
You think your thinking has changed so much more. You see things much wiser. And I'm not saying people do this, but there's a very high chance this person who was married at like 28 or much later, they know for sure what they want.
Right.
They know for sure, like, they're happy with this person, and probably that, you know, is gonna work really good. As compared to the 18, they were just going with the flow, you know, and then maybe they settle down, and then they're like, oh man, maybe I missed out. Then start thinking like those, oh man, maybe I missed out.
And even when you're younger, you're still trying to figure out yourself. You're trying to figure out, what do I like? Who am I?
You're still trying to figure yourself out.
Yeah, you're trying to figure yourself out. So
yeah, it's not, you know, like, and I understand why the days in our parents, they used to be like, because a lot of our parents, the baby boomers, I'm talking about specifically in Kenya, a lot of them, by 21 they were married and had their first kid.
Oh yeah.
A lot of them, and that's why in Africa you'll find a lot of us, our parents, they're so young. We're like people in their 30s, in their 40s, their parents are so young. You're like, how do you know? How is this your mom?
Did you start with honeymoon or what happened?
But it's because they had kids so late. So your mom is only 20 years older than you.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's like when you're 30, your mom is only 50. It's like, and so, but now people are taking their time, and I think that's a good thing.
And also, I think one thing that I would say is that and I know this is not about dating, but also one thing that I've always known, and actually I came to realize, sometimes you are looking for, oh, I want a woman that's like this, they have these qualities, or I want a man who is like this. Let me tell you, it's so hard to find what you're thinking in your mind. Honestly, some people, especially women, give you a description. If you look at the description, they're actually describing Jesus.
Someone who's perfect.
The standards are so high.
Yeah.
So high.
But you see, it's hard to get what you're looking for. But the most important thing is that know yourself. Know who Who am I? What do I like? Like, if you know yourself, then there's somebody who's gonna come your way that you did not like go to check what they have it, but you're like, man, because I know who I am, I'm a prayerful person. I didn't ask them to be prayerful. I saw this person being prayerful. This person loves sports. Man, I love sport. Like, there are things that if you work on yourself and you find out who am I. I usually say this a lot. Coming to America was very eye-opening for me. And I came to the US. You know, in Kenya, you go to a restaurant and then they serve you food. Like, actually, some of these places you say chapati madondo. Like, there's what, and you say that, they already know everything that you make, and they'll bring it to you. And then I came to the US, and then you're going to ask for food. They're like, oh, here's a menu. And all this, like, you have to order, even how they're gonna cook. Some of these things I don't know, like, so many complicated stuff. I'm like, dude, I just want this and this. They're like, no, there are so many types. Which type do you want?
What cheese?
I'm like, how? And then once you select, they're telling you, okay, how do you want it cooked? I'm like, just cook the food. But then so it was really hard for me at the beginning. And actually, there's a restaurant here in Atlanta, Big Chow or something like that, where they actually give you pick your own ingredients, you pick what oil you're gonna use, you pick your own flavors, then you take it to that guy to cook. Like, you have put everything together. Dude, if you mess up, and we've done that with Samu a lot, if you mess up, dude, you're gonna eat your mess. But you see what that taught me is like to figure out who am I. Because I had to figure out what I like to eat. I used to do some mistakes when I was earlier on. I would go to a restaurant and the waiter would ask the waiter, give me your favorite. They give me like very bad food, like tasteless. And then I thought about it, and I'm like, you know what? I did not ask for my favorite. I asked for your favorite. And so if I ask for your favorite, I'm gonna get your favorite. Even in relationship, if you ask for somebody's favorite, it's gonna be their favorite. But what is your favorite? So what that did is that it made me sit back and think, okay, Jay, who are you? We're talking about food now. When I go to a restaurant, I don't care what I look in the other person's plate. What do I like to eat? What do I like to taste? So I'll pick stuff. It's gonna be weird to some people. I don't care. I don't care how you look at it. This is my plate, and my plate, I made it the way. Like, when it comes to like what are they called? Bacon. I don't like crunchy.
Oh, really?
I used to take them crunchy all the time because that's how they used to serve them. I don't like them crunchy. So I just figured out how to make my own meal, and that's how I like it, and I'm happy. And the same way, you have to figure out your life. Who are you? How do you like it? How do you, like, when you get in the house, don't put AC 65 because you went to an American and they were 65. What makes you comfortable in your own house? Dressing. I don't dress like the fashion, the latest thing, because I realize sometimes I'm wearing a very expensive something. People say I look good, but I don't feel good. I started buying things actually, I would buy something, I don't even know I didn't even look at the label. I bought something, it looks good, the price is good, it feels good. And then somebody will be like, oh, that's a very good shoe. I'm like, oh, I didn't even know, I didn't even look at that. And so when you start looking at yourself and figuring out, who am I? What do I like? What makes me happy? That is going to be easier, because in marriage, guess what? If you're not happy, don't expect your husband or your wife to make you happy, because that's a lot of work to put on one person. So I usually tell my wife, Mimi, I can have fun by myself. Like, I can go a whole week all by myself, I'll be fine. It's not like I don't like my wife. It's not I don't love her. I love her. I mean, she's like the best thing that happened to me. But at the same time, I have learned how, what in Kenya we say, kujipatia raha. Mimi, I can go to Hawaii all by myself. Mimi, I'll go play golf, do whatever, and I'll be so happy. But at the same time, I want my wife to be like that, because when you're two of you are happy, when you come together, it's gonna be happy. But if one person is not happy, they're expecting the other person to make them happy. My friend, mtapanda mlima. It will never be there.
Yeah, but wow, that was beautiful. We had a wonderful topic, and Jay, thank you again for coming.
I'm glad to be here.
It's funny, we started with the struggles of
we have gone,
African men.
I think we just had conversations, and it's good to have some of these conversations, especially, there are some things that happen, but of course they're all related to men. But I think if I can say something to conclude is that when I went through the whole ordeal, during the time when actually it was at its peak, I'm not gonna lie, as a mind came to me, do I forget about everything and go to Kenya?
Wow.
Because it's that part, like, man, this system is here to kill me. It's here to finish me.
Leave it all behind and go.
Forget about. I'm like, man, no, I love my kids. I love my kids so much. If you ever do that, I'm gonna fight through. But then after some time, everything passed by. Everything became normal, and life went back. Of course, it's not normal completely, but I don't feel how I was feeling then. And this is just to say, like, there are seasons in life. And it doesn't matter what you're going, especially for the men who are going through all this hard stuff and they're thinking, man, this country is not for me. And as much as you're right, and sometimes people think of even suicide, and there are people who have actually committed suicide. People are going through depression, and because you're feeling you are in a space whereby nobody understands you, and there's no way to get out of this. Man, I'm telling you, if I got out of that, what I was feeling, everything has a season. And there's somebody actually said it very well. In this life, you're either going through the storm, going out of the storm, or you will go through the storm. Somehow the storm is going to come. The good thing you have to know is that there's a point where that storm is going to be behind you. And enjoy when the storm is behind you. Rejoice and be there for the people that are going through the storm. But don't think, just like we said, the fact that you hear, oh, jail, don't think like this is far away. Homelessness, they don't think it can happen to anybody.
You're just like 1 or 2 checks away from homelessness.
Yeah, one, you can actually, if you get fired and you don't have a job, maybe 2 or 3 months, you're homeless.
That's it.
So anything that happens to anybody in this life, let me tell you, if there's something that called divorce, if you ever told me that I can never divorce, that's something that I didn't even know that it can happen. But then when it happens, you're like, wow. So this happened to normal people. And so anything that happens, it can happen to anybody. But the most important thing is that hold on, like, don't give up. Pray that God surround you with people and friends that can pray with you, that can stand with you, not just by words, not just by talking, like literally standing with you, because for me that's what it took. But then the most important thing is that God is going to be with you. And the good thing about that is that the Bible says that God He will never leave us nor forsake us, no matter what.
Yes.
You know, if there's one scripture that we were taught when I was growing up in a children's home in Kenya, and there's this lady who came and gave us a scripture that I've never forgotten. Psalms 27 verse 10. It says that even though my father and mother may abandon me, the Lord will take care of me. And if you know and believe that, you know what, the Lord is going to take care of me, that is as true as it comes. Because for me, honestly, if I sit back, I've seen how God has taken care of me. Random people taking care of me, I'm like, man, like, this person didn't have to do this, but it's God that I've seen God taking care of me through the journey. And so never give up. Don't ever feel like, you know what, this is too much that I don't deserve to live. You don't have a choice whether you can. God has already created you. There's a reason and there's a purpose. So the storm will pass. So just hold on. But yeah, that's what we can talk for a long time.
True. That is so true. And also, one of the things that we were talking earlier is that don't regret what you've gone through, because that's what has made you. The Lord allowed that to happen for a reason.
Right.
And you wouldn't be the person that you are today if you didn't go through what you have gone through.
Right.
You know? So I'm always grateful to God for everything that I've gone through, and I'm also grateful that you guys have gone through what you have gone through, because Jay, you wouldn't be here testifying or encouraging other people, you know, telling them, hey, you can do it too, you can make it through, telling them about, you know, giving them advice, telling them never go to court without a lawyer, you know, make sure that you have an attorney.
Learn the hard way.
You had to learn the hard way for someone else, and also for you too to learn as well, you know. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for just coming to share your testimony and also contribute in this channel. We appreciate that.
And if I may say something too, it's also, he mentioned about how people came together and, you know, helped him with the bail and everything for to be able to get out of jail.
The Kenyan community,
yeah, so we learned the same thing too. Like, it's good to have a community around you.
Yes.
You know, you, like you said, you think some things will never happen to you. It might not be that. It might be something else where you need people's support. But you need that community, because when that time comes, and it will come. I'm sorry, my life is just
that's
like
just
this.
like yeah.
You know, and we all go through it.
Yeah.
And when it comes, you will realize how important community is. So it's good just to connect with a community. Don't withdraw yourself from everybody and so I don't need them. You're not too good for anyone. We all need each other. That's how God created us. Otherwise you'd be in the world all by yourself. But here we are, all of us.
We all need each other.
We all need each other. And you know, just for the men too, I always think about this, like my wife has so many friends. Like she talks to this friend, she prays with that friend, she does with this friend. Like women, they're able to communicate freely and have that community with each other. And for us men, like we need to do better too, guys. Like we need to have that support around us where we can freely talk and freely share. And you know, like, because like you said, when you are going through that hard place, sometimes you just need somebody to listen to you, who can just be there as a man and be like, yeah, I understand, man, I'm there with you. And if you're not able to have such a community physically, you know, there are Facebook groups of, you know, there are communities, online communities right now where you can link yourself up and you can just go there and vent and have other men. And you know, I'm in such a group myself where it's just for dads. So this one is for dads, single, non-dad guys. So this one is just for dads. And I see a lot of men there venting and just opening up, and I'm like, okay, I like this. You know, seeing men being vulnerable and sharing their experiences.
Which is hard.
It's hard, you know.
You guys don't talk about what you're going through.
We don't.
Like, you don't talk about your feelings.
No, we should, and we don't, but we are working towards it.
But we are told, be a man, don't cry.
Yeah, don't cry. So it's like, you know, and we will one day, one of these days, we'll share a personal testimony, me and my wife, you know, something we went through, but pretty much through some things that happened to us. It was the first time I ever cried in my life as an adult, and it felt so good. I wouldn't even lie. I told my wife, you mean I've been missing out all these years?
So you have cried.
So I've cried, and I'm like, you know, they tell us never to cry, and it's
honestly,
like ingrained in us.
Let me tell you, and I was gonna tell you this earlier. I have never seen my husband cry.
No one has ever seen
This
him cry.
was the first time I saw him cry.
Wow.
I saw you once shed tears when my dad passed. When you guys came for my dad's burial, and I think you saw me crying and you shed tears. That's the last time I ever saw you cry.
So even when you he's never like teared up like,
no.
Oh, you're not doing well.
No.
I have no recollection of crying in my adult life.
Trust me, I think that's one of the hardest things. But I mean, you know, when things like that happen, when something happens and you get to a place where you're crying, I mean, you don't feel good because of what happened. You actually feel the relief. You know what? You're actually comfortable. You are ready to let it go. And you know, I mean, that's why we need such group of men to know that, you know what, men can also cry.
And it's okay.
And you are in the right environment, and there's nothing, no judgment.
No judgment
Because you cried. Your brother Samu, very notorious. Whenever we would see a man crying, be like, like we used to be like that.
Yeah, like a
but then we were talking. Actually, I was talking to Andrew the other day. We're like, man, we have to be open up. We have to be okay with crying, and also that idea of like just having groups, because that's very, very important. Having groups of men. There's something that Passion City was doing. I haven't had it. They used to call it Fight Club. Fight Club was a group of 5 men that you come together. Nothing goes out of that, but you talk about everything. You cry together. You pray together. I don't know if it's still going on, but this is something that I was even telling Andrew. I wish we can start something like that, whereby there's a group of men that we come together. Man, this is not judgment. You did what? Yes, you did what. It's not right, but we have to be there for you. Because it's at that point when you've done something and you feel like when you tell people are going to be judging you, and then you end up messing or doing all that. So I think it's good to be together and stick together and cry like Jimmy.
Like for real, like, because I've seen my wife be in those groups of women, and she talks to this woman and she talks to that woman, and you can see after that she's so much better, in a much better place, has spiritually, mentally. And because she got to share with a group of women who were able to comfort her and be there for her and pray for her and support her. And I'm like, man, I should talk to this. Should join this group.
No, mama.
But it's for women, you know.
Let me tell you, for me, I'm actually a different, slightly. Usually my tears are actually like very near.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, like even
so
today.
Do you cry?
No,
Like
I fight them.
Like Steve Harvey.
I fight them. Like even today when we were talking, a lot of conversations were like, yeah.
Oh, really?
You guys wouldn't sit there. Usually like
you the shoulder.
You mean right now as we're recording?
Like there's some conversation that we had here, especially for me. You touch about my kids. You touch about what I went through when I was talking about my wife. Like when I left her, when I went to jail. Like they were just here. You see, like right here. If I said one more, I don't know if you guys noticed. So my tactic, I don't know how other men do, and we shouldn't do that. When I know like I'm talking about this thing and it's getting there, I would switch the conversation. Because if I continue talking about that dude,
you know, it's okay to cry. It's okay.
Man, we are told don't cry. Stuff it down and let it there.
I think I'm a pro at that because usually I'm telling you I can. Most of the conversation that I have, I find myself, I feel them. You know, you feel when they are coming. But then I think there is what?
For us, the tears are always like right
for
here.
women, it's always just ready to
You know,
go.
I was telling Jay earlier today. Man, I feel so embarrassed because I did a video the other day and I cried on the video.
Like
and I tried to redo that video over and over again and I was still crying. I was still crying. I was here telling people, man, you need to know Jesus. Don't run away from God. And I'm here just bawling and
So
crying.
did you end up recording it?
I did. I recorded.
You see, if it's something authentic, then that's it. You can't. There's something you can't fake tears over and over again. It got to a point
where I was like, you know what? I'm past judgment. If they judge me, it's okay. I'm doing this for Jesus, you know. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jay. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me, man. I really enjoyed.
Hopefully we can do another one. Please bring your wife. Let's do a marriage session.
No, babe, you've had.
Wow, we want you here on this seat.
She had. So it's not gonna be like, I'm not gonna ask her. You guys have already asked her.
We have invited you, Val.
Alright. Karibu.
Karibu sana.
Hi.
Thank you so much.
If you are new here, please make sure you like, you subscribe, you comment, and if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back to watch this channel. We wish you a great week. Bye.
Kwaheri.
Kwaheri.
Bye.